Hi, I'm Trevor Len from RevTrev.com, and in today's episode of RevTrev TV, I want to introduce you to my good friend Cheryl Shea. Now, Cheryl is an author and she is a counselor, and she's someone who's really passionate about seeing people work through their issues and work through their problems and just seeing them through to the other side. And welcome, Cheryl. Just thank you so much for
Thanks.
being here.
It's good to be here.
No, I've been talking to Cheryl about this for some time, way before I announced I was doing RevTrev TV, because I really wanted people to find out about your book, Soul Surgeon. And Cheryl, let's talk about that in this episode. Basically, why did you write Soul Surgeon?
Well, I wrote it for a couple reasons. One was this desire I think that most people have that ever write a book is they want to write a book. So it seemed like a good place to start. And really just to help the church understand what complete wholeness and healing means. We often get sort of stuck in one component, like inner healing or psychology or um, we just need to do the right thing or we just need to confess our sin. And the reality is all of those things are part of our healing process. And what I tried to do in the book was help people incorporate the different parts of healing with the different wounds that we experience in our lives.
Mm. What Talk to us about the healing process. I mean, it's something that really stood out for me when I read your book. You made a whole lot of sense out of the different things I saw in different people that I've worked with over the years. So, what is that healing process all about? What are the milestones? What are some things we can look for, or what do we need to do?
There's a few things. The first part of the healing process is you have to realize that you are broken and you need to be fixed or healed.
Mm.
I gave the book to someone a couple of years ago, and their comment back to me was they thought they were okay, but they realize they're broken. And so if people get that out of reading the book, that's the starting place. A lot of times we start to realize that because we realize we're reacting to situations, not acting.
Mm.
So the classic one is someone cuts us off in traffic and our anger is out of proportion to what the reality of the situation is, or we come home from work and it's been a rough day and we fight with the people in our family or take it out some other way through some type of addictive behavior, and we start to realize we're reacting, we're not acting.
Mm.
So then we get to a place where we start to realize, and I certainly know this from my own life, where something's wrong, and we begin to realize that that is because things have happened in our life and they've hurt us. And that next stage I call being a victim. And a lot of people don't like that because they've heard a term victim mentality.
Mm.
And victim mentality is more about being stuck in that role than acknowledging that you're a victim. Now, the example I'll use, because we're here in Alberta, is the town north of Edmonton that was mostly burnt to the ground, 30% burnt to the ground in the forest fire. The people in that town had to acknowledge that they were victims of the forest fire. They
Right.
had to acknowledge there was danger, they had to get out. They had to acknowledge their house was burnt to the ground, their vehicles destroyed, maybe their business destroyed. They had to acknowledge that before they could actually do something to change it. So acknowledging that you're a victim is about acknowledging that things have happened to you, they've wounded you, you've responded in a certain way that hasn't been a good way, a healthy way, a godly way,
Mm-hmm.
and that needs to change. And so that's the next step. And then the third step, which is the most significant well, I guess they're all significant, but the third step that really, when people start to see change in their lives, is that they realize that not only have they been victimized by other people, but because of their sinful self-protection, those things inside that we say, I'm never going to let myself get hurt that way again, those things that we've done have in turn hurt other people.
Mm.
And we have to take responsibility for the sinful responses to our own woundedness. And that's a very significant part of the healing process. I've met lots of people that they've had lots of inner healing prayer ministry, and I really do sincerely believe God's done something in their life, but they stop there and they're never able to take responsibility for their own sinful behavior. One of the reasons that I'll often send people to a group like AA, or I know there's a Christian recovery groups out there as well, is that those groups really focus on our behavior, what we've done, and how that's hurt and impacted other people. So that's the next significant stage of the healing process.
I know, like you've talked to me a few times about the importance of healing within community as well. Is that part of the process? Like it just not, I'm not a person unto myself. It's the people I'm connected with. It's my church family. It's whatever group that you need to be in that healthy environment to get real long-term change to happen
Yeah,
when hurt's been
yeah,
done.
for sure. Because I mean, the reality is, you go back, everything. I just think everything goes back to the first three chapters in the Bible, the book of Genesis. And the reality is, God created us to be in relationship, open, honest, healthy, whole, productive,
Yeah.
restoring relationship with Him and with each other. And so, if our healing journey has just brought us to be feel better about ourselves, but has not helped us to enter into relationship, we're really not there. And the other thing, of course, most people will tell you, you're fine until you have to deal with someone else. So you have to deal with that coworker that drives you nuts, or your spouse, or your kids, or your friends that for some reason all of a sudden they're driving you crazy now.
Yeah.
Um, those are the things that really show us that our relational style is out of whack. One of the authors that has been really influential in my life is Dr. Dan Allender, and in the book The Wounded Heart, which is for adult survivors of childhood sexual abuse, he has a something that he calls the style of relating that I've put in my book, which isn't about what our personality is. It's about how do I relate to other people out of my woundedness.
Mm.
And so you really only see that in relationships, and it's really when God starts to deal with that we're really moving into a better level of healing and freedom.
Yeah, when you mentioned about how we respond to other people, I've heard far too many pastors say, church would be wonderful if it wasn't for the people.
Exactly.
And what are they saying? It's their own hurts, it's their own wounds that they're dealing with there.
Yeah, yeah.
Are what's is there another step in the healing process? We got to what we were talking about. I got
Well, there's we were talking about our
our
wounds,
wounds, yes.
but and then our sinful response to that wounds. But part of that too in there is the lies we believe about ourselves.
Right.
And pretty much again since our early childhood, we start believing lies about who we are, about other people, and about God. And so part of that healing journey is also recognizing that we are believing lies. I remember the first time I always felt very inferior. So I overachieved, I think, in my life. I know in my life I tended to do that. I have three degrees. And had I money, I would have gone for another one because I could do that well. So I got self-esteem from that. And in
Yeah.
some respects, that's not a bad thing. I needed some. But um, the lies I believed about myself where I was worthless, I was incapable, I was unattractive, just myriad of lies. And I remember the first time a pastor came and prayed for me. He laid his hands on my head and he prayed that God would break all the lies I believe about myself. And I remember thinking, but they're all the truth.
Mm.
And the reason that they seemed like they were the truth is that they had been enforced and believed by me from very, very early in my life. And so my reality was that they were the truth.
That's we in our next episode we're going to actually focus more on what people need to understand about wounds, because what you're saying is we got to draw that out more. There's so many people that come to RevTrev.com every day that I get just heart questions from that are just hurting, and you've got a lot to say to them. And anyway, Cheryl, if people want to get in touch with you, I'm not going to say email because you can get spammed, but we've got a website up for you, and it's EdmontonCounselingServices.com. Counseling has 2 L's because we're Canadian,
Exactly.
and they can check out all about you there.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Thanks, Trevor.
Well, that's it for this week's episode, and we'll be back next week to talk about what people need to understand about wounds. Take care.
See you then.
Yep, bye.
This episode has been brought to you by Expectancy Press, resources that impart hope and empower destiny. When you choose to purchase products from expectancypress.com, you're supporting the work of Expectancy Ministries. Are you a little afraid to do what God's told you to do? Get a copy of How Big Is Your Butt by Trevor Lund today.